Okay, so again, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron. So I will be sharing about the practices that I have been doing in the last 10 years in terms of the how to apply enterprise architecture, especially like now everybody is moving towards Industry 4.0 or what we call it the next level of the digitalization. Basically, it's exploiting all type of the advancements in the technology that are available today. So basically, what I have shown this in the slide is that the background is the world that if we could map in terms of the complexity. So the complexity that we are facing today is beyond what we have seen in the past. Basically, is everything is interdependency, intradependency, internally as well as externally. But of course, our current challenges is that wherever we are, in terms of we are working in a particular organization, perhaps we have been working for 10 years or 15 years, it is very difficult for us to understand what other departments are doing, what are the processes they do, what are so-called the tasks, function, services, as well as the collaboration that they do internally as well as externally. So basically, is that the message is clear. If we cannot imagine or we cannot even comprehend what other department internally do, how about external department that we are facing? So the map here is showing a real complexity that we are facing in the enterprise. So any decision that we do, it will impact other division, other department, other entities internally as well as externally. So let me just highlight in terms of the four key design principles for successful leapfrogging into Industry Revolution 4.0. The first one that I want to highlight is the customer-led. Customer-led is very, very important. In whatever we do in terms of the investing in the particular technology or coming up with the new architecture, we always need to focus what are the benefits to the customer. Okay, so in terms of that is what we call it uh, customer journey map. So customer journey map is part of the business architecture. I think now is gaining a popularity. So I will highlight later in my presentation how do we get it right for the first time, because I have come across many customer journey mapping that has been done comprehensively. But however, the implementation, the execution in terms of the providing or empowering a customer itself is still lacking. So basically here is like I'm going to address in terms of the what sort of the business architecture need to be in place so that we can provide a comprehensive and also connected experience for our customer. The second one of the key design principle for IR 4.0 is that insight driven. So I think this one has been a challenge in many organizations. They have the data available, but it's everywhere. So how do we connect? How do we harness that data so that it can help business to provide a strategic decision making? So in here, we are talking about how can we garner AI in terms of the predicting about the pattern, the behavior of the particular business customer, as well as like applying in the manufacturing, like the predictive maintenance. Then as well as machine learning, how can we train the machine with the perhaps algorithm or robotic to make it more intelligent? And of course, big data analytics about harnessing and connecting various sources of the data, how we can turn that into a valuable information. And of course, IoT is where very, very key today that the devices are all talking to each other. So we have to be able to harness this. And this is where the information architecture playing a critical role. So of course, the pitfall that in many organizations, they go straight into the IoT solution, but they don't have anyone that looking the bigger pictures in terms of the information architecture itself. So this is something that we need to do. So the third key principle is about responsiveness. I mean, today, it's no point we come out a very expensive system or very advanced system, but it's not responsive. So meaning is that we cannot change things fast, and also the performance is not up to the standard, and it's not really what the business wanted. So in here, we need to connect two architecture domain, business architecture and software architecture that are very, very critical as the building block to develop a system or the technology solution that are responsive. to the business in terms of the rapid change, be it internally, internal politics, as well as external driver, industry driver. So the last pillar is about the connected. So connected is something very, very important, because what happened is that in the last 30 years, we have been living in the world of automation, computerization. So during that time, we really didn't have much time in terms of the thinking about connectivity, because we are rushing to deliver a solution. So now is the time for us to look and how to orchestrate internal processes, how we connect a multiple system, integrate the data, the business flow, and etc. So this is where the domain of business architecture and infrastructure architecture playing a critical role. So these are the key design principles for anyone who want to leapfrog into a successful IR 4.0. And this is what I described about the simple analogy on the screen, on my screen on the left, is about the era of digitalization, because this has been the so-called buzzword in the last 5 years, I believe. But actually, the digitalization era has started quite early in the 2010. But however, that many industry today are not fully ready. And of course, now with the COVID-19, with the pandemic, so everyone is pushed to adopt moving towards digitalization with the full speed. So the uniqueness of the digitalization is that business and technology need to work together, need to be integrated as a one team. In the past, typically is that they have a business team and the IT team, and typically these teams are not getting along well. So typically, if any requirement creep or system that are not performing, typical blame that business will say that is IT problem. Likewise, if you ask the IT team will also respond that, oh, the business actually, they know what they want, but they don't know what they need. So we have a communication broken somewhere. So the era of digitalization is really pushing between business and technology integration. So of course, with this, the era of the digitalization that we are facing today, many enterprise challenges that we face exist. And maybe perhaps in the past that other departments are doing, but now we really need to address this in the concerted effort. So like all the questions that I have flashed in the screen. So how can we answer all these questions? This is so-called interchange connected question. Once you answer one question, then the next question will be asked. So how can we answer all these critical questions about our enterprise today? Right? So the question like the strategy, about the gaps, about the innovation, about the capability that we have, about our resources in terms like the allocation, in fact, like the financial resources in terms of like how do we optimize our cost, our profit, and etc. So likewise, about how can we have a sustainable investment portfolio, how do we develop new capability? So these are so-called real questions that someone in the enterprise need to answer. And of course, this answer is coming from a various entity in the enterprise, but someone need to architect, someone need to connect all these sources of the information from the various entity within the enterprise, and then after that present it in the so-called like a dashboard manner, so that businesses or key stakeholders can get the answer to it. Of course, there are more questions that need to be answered as well, like a strategic scenario, how the customer experience looks like, how do we balance between change and control, what are the expected costs and benefit for particular initiative. Because if we need to invest something, we need to know like our CBA. Of course, the impact to our existing business model. So if we initiated particular transformation, what are the impact to the particular department, and what are other department also may be impacted, what are the processes change, functions, services, and of course, what are the system that need to be upgraded or to be integrated. So of course, all these questions we just flash it here, but I think you can get the scale of the answer that we need to prepare. How fast can you answer all these questions? If you can answer this in a few hours, you are good. You are ready to embark into supporting the business with all the architecture that we build. But if we say that to the business, sir, give me 1 week, 1 month, or few months, then we are not ready. So organization need to have this answer almost like instantly, because this is what we are living in the digital world. So we can't wait until tomorrow or next week to get the answer. Yeah, and I think as we mentioned that all these answers are interconnected, and we need the answers now. So this is also another so-called dilemma that we are facing today, and I have come across to many digital transformation team that has been in fact shut down. So this is a sad story, because in the what I've observed in terms of the finding out about what they do, actually they are just doing the same like what PMO does in 5 years ago. So the digital transformation team basically is identifying what are the project or initiative, and then they just run as a typical project. So business as usual. But the only thing is that their title or their system, their project have the word digital, because they told me that if they don't have the word digital on it, it is very hard for the CFO to approve the budget. So at the end of the day is that we will end up with the many digital island. So this is something that we don't want to have in our enterprise today. And I just want to quote something that are quite interesting. So Gartner made this prediction in the 2014. So it's about 6 years ago. So how the enterprise evolution will heading towards 2025. So everything will be interconnected and interconnected. This is where enterprise architecture will have a significant business outcome. So this is a interesting article in the 2014. But what I would see this year, because of the COVID-19, I think the 2025 is this year. Because at the time when Gartner made this prediction, we didn't know that got such a pandemic this year. So the digitalization is very key. And what I want to hint to you is that the map of the enterprise are highly critical for success. So imagine that we know that we have a GPS. I think GPS like Garmin has been popular 15 years ago in the 20 years ago in the US. But I think until today that everyone carrying a handphone, a mobile phone, a smartphone that has a so-called GPS map, right? So like Google Map, Waze, and etc. So that one is a make our life handy. Imagine that you are now leaving from work at say 5 o'clock, and then your family asks whether you can be home by 6:30. So last time we are not so sure, so we just tell them, okay, we leave early, but you know when our family members call us, where are you, Aaron? Oh, I am still stuck in somewhere in whatever highway, right? Actually the time already 8:30. So because maybe got major accident, or maybe got some sort of the road incident that caused us to be in the jam, stuck in the jam. But today, with the ability of using a Waze or the GPS, they can reroute us to another alternative route, and we can also inform our family members that we will be late or we will be on time. So of course, now the question is that who are in our enterprise today who have that full visibility in terms of the map about what we do, if we particularly change particular process, which one is impacted. So typically is that is a very challenging answer to get from other department. Even we find out that, oh, that department actually is the source of the information that we should get the so-called the data or the evidence. But however, typically in enterprise is that there's a political wall, so you can't really get the information from the other department easily. So it depends really on your rank and your seniority in the enterprise. So how can we break through that political wall in the enterprise so that we can have a full visibility of the enterprises that we are living in? And of course, this is another interesting about Gartner Predict 2020. So there's a link there. I think for those of you who have Gartner subscriber, so you can copy, you can get the copy from there. So the interesting part is that Gartner Predict on the 2020 that EA enable the intelligent organization. So this is actually aligned with what I would say about how can we leapfrog into the industry 4.0. Right? So Industry 4.0 is about the intelligent organization. It's about connected enterprise. It's about transparency and faster decision making. So in order for us to have a faster decision making, we need to have the information at hand. And the information is coming from the various sources. And the decision that we make also will impact other departments. So there's a need to have some sort of the what I would call a enterprise map for us to navigate and transform the enterprise in our today context. So this is a typical traditional way that we have the direction from the strategy to the business and to the technology itself. So meaning is that the senior management, they're developing a fantastic strategy in terms of the goal, driver, where they want to drive the organization towards. Then after that, the strategy is delegated to the multiple businesses or department in terms of the people, process, function, and what are the data required, and also supported by the technology or the application as well as the infrastructure. But if you do it this way, it doesn't have the look back. So what we need to do is that we need to have some sort of the look back so that we need to change. We need to know if the particular strategy change, which are the business domain that will be changed, which are the information will be changed, which the application or infrastructure. Likewise, if we do something, some changes in terms of our application of the function, and we need to know which are the business entity impacted, which are the processes impacted, as well as which are the key stakeholders that own the strategy will be impacted. So we need to have a closed loop, the model that I described here. So this is what I would call it a digitally connected enterprise. So this is something that is the so-called the goal for every organization today. If you want to be successful in terms of adopting or leapfrogging towards Industry 4.0, we need to have a digitally connected enterprise from the strategy to the business, to the information, to the application, and to the infrastructure, and vice versa. So basically, is have a full map in terms of the connectivity and impact analysis. This is another so-called pitfall that many organizations today so-called carrying out their digital transformation. That's why in the last 3 years that I've seen many of digital transformation actually has been so-called dismantled. Because what they do is that they develop a digital strategy. They come out a very beautiful strategy about how they are going to achieve that, to achieve particular goal. And then after that, they will pass that strategy into the digital transformation team that is typically working very closely with the PMO, with the program management office, to execute multiple projects. So if you do it this way, the chances of success is very little. Even though you are successful, but your so-called new technology solution that you develop, it will end up into the digital island. So how can we avoid this? So what we need to do is that we need to do some sort of the architecture. So from the strategy itself, we need to distill what are so-called the impact towards a business, towards what information required, what application impacted, what infrastructure need to be in place. Then from there, we identify the gaps. So after we consolidate the gaps, then the gaps it will be passed on into the digital transformation team for execution. So this is where it should be, instead of a direct from one strategy to a digital transformation execution. So hope this give you pictures that about what I'm going to paint. Then this is where I'm going to drill down again from a previous slide in terms of the digital strategy. So today is there will be a convergence between a business and IT strategy. That's why the word business technology strategy now is a keyword. It is also one of the key pillars in the ITABOK, in the ISA IT architecture body of knowledge. So the blend between a business and IT strategy are critical success factor in the today digital world. Once we have done this, then we need to do a so-called digital enterprise architecture. The word I use digital here because we don't analyze this manually. We don't analyze this by PowerPoint or Excel or Word, but we need to have a digital repository to analyze in terms of the impact that the strategy bring. What are the changes we need to make in terms of in the domain of the business, information, application, and technology. So once we have consolidated all the impact, we put that into the gaps. Then after that, we put it into the work package. Then we go into so-called digital transformation execution. So this way, we are developing the roadmap. How can we develop so-called or realize like a smart factory or digital business, digital enterprise? And because what we need to do is that we need to fill up all the gaps that we exist today. because the gap is actually blocking us to achieve so-called our digital status. So the job of this so-called digital strategy, digital enterprise architecture, and digital transformation, like I described in the previous slide, is the round trip. So basically, is the iteration, is the transition. So our job will never end, and the architect responsibility are to ensure that we always identify the gaps and try to fill up the gaps with so-called with all whatever the technology available today that will best suit to the business, and of course to fulfill all the constraints that are set by the key stakeholders. So this is another analogy in terms of our physical enterprise. So our enterprise today consists of people and also processes, various technology that we have invested, and of course they got the knowledge. But unfortunately, the knowledge more towards a tribal knowledge. So tribal knowledge basically the knowledge that are kept or residing in a particular department, or perhaps in the particular people that work long enough, and typically they don't like to share. So if we have in this type of the situation, it's very, very challenging for us to drive the innovation or develop new capability. So what we need to do is that typically we need to extract what are so-called in terms of the motivation or the particular key stakeholders, in terms of the strategy that they are developing. So this is what we are constructing layer by layer in terms of the layer to develop a digital enterprise map for us in terms of accelerating the decision-making process. Then once we understand the motivation and strategy, and then we need to understand the impact directly towards the business. So we are talking about the processes, function, department, roles, and particular product or services. By the way, the building block here are illustrated in Archimate. So Archimate is one of the building blocks that we can use to model our enterprise. Then once we understand the business, then we look at the current application that are supporting the business. So here we look into is there any area that we need to upgrade our application, or we need to improve, or we need to modify or add functionality. Then after that, we look at the technology layer itself in terms of all the whatever we can use as sensors, the cloud, and all the virtualization, and as well as what sort of the machine learning that we can adopt. And from there, we also need to have a so-called information architecture to connect and also to bridge between what are various business team, what are the various application, various domain on the infrastructure that need to be orchestrated, so that the information and the data are relevant and useful to the business. Then on the bottom part is where we need to know the execution of the particular in-flight project or transformation project that are very, very critical to support the motivation and the strategy that has been set by key stakeholders. And so this is what I would call that necessity for any enterprise today if we want to do a transformation, because of the scale and the complexity. So if we cannot even model our world, it's very difficult even in the execution part, when we just hand over or trust a particular team, or maybe when you outsource, let them run the show. It is almost like impossible to be successful. Maybe you have to do multiple attempts. But with this type of the visibility that we have at hand, we should be able to control and minimize any risk that we may encounter. So the concept actually on the digital map is this is another analogy actually about the aeroplane. So this is an aeroplane that have so-called a digital structure and skeleton, that every component, every part are interconnected. Of course, all the aeroplane are wired. So we know that if any particular parts that are not working, we know which are the next part or the next function will be impacted. Of course, the most importantly is whether we can land or take off safely. The same thing with the device or the iPad on your right there. So someone may need to develop so-called the circuit board. So the circuit board is so-called the brain that has all the multiple chips and the components that connect the entire iPad, so that we can have a fully functioning digital device for us to install the application, for us to work, for us to access the application, and etc. So if something that is not right, so it could be something that either the component are broken, or perhaps is the wire is broken. So we need to fix that. So now, of course, in our enterprise, someone need to have the team, the architects, to be able to perform this function. And this is actually the model. So if we see focus on the left hand side, not sure I can zoom here. So our world, as I have been describing earlier, that we are living in the silo world. How do we know? We may be working in the same company. Yes, you're working in the one company, but you are attached to particular department. So that department actually is a silo by itself, is the island by itself. And it has a political tension within internal department as well as to external department. So, and of course, another interesting part is that typically the business unit or the department will have their own particular system, the IT, that they are managing. So again, these are in the last 20, 30 years, it creating a silo within or stovepipe within our enterprise. So the only thing that we need to break through this silo is that we need to develop the meta model of our enterprise. In terms of we understand the entities relationship, in terms of the motivation, strategy, business function, business process, collaboration, application component, function, application services, infrastructure, as well as the information. So once we come out the meta model, we need to put it into the digital repository, because of course now many organizations are still using a lot of the Excel to manage the meta model that I think not in the today complexity is not doable. But however, I still do see a need quite number of large companies, they are maintaining Excel in the thousands or millions of records in terms of this meta model, whereby actually they should go into the EA repository to so-called define the meta model, as well as to fill up the information capturing the real world enterprise. Then from there, we will have so-called dashboard for stakeholders to view, to do a query, to do analytic, and as well as to make decision making. So these are some of the building blocks that we can use to model our enterprise. So the left side is all the Archimate viewpoints, the template that interestingly they have a so-called default color. So the yellow is totally talking about the business, the blue is about application, the green is about technology or infrastructure, and they also have so-called the motivation in the purple color, as well as the implementation and also the core elements. So the objective actually, we are trying to understand the so-called the impact or the initiative that we're going to embark is basically we need to know in terms of the business layer, application layer, and technology layer, what are so-called the scope area of impacted, because we are going to bring change, we are going to transform the organization. So it is very critical for architects, for us, or in fact senior management, to make right decision before we embark into the transformation. Because in the most cases is that if they don't have a visibility like this, they will only find surprises as they in their journey of transformation. And we don't like surprises in terms of the enterprise that we are managing today, because any impact may cause a customer not happy, or perhaps we may lose money. And this is the example of the meta model and relationship. So everything are interconnected and intra-connected. So this is where the legend is the purple color is where we model our motivation. Motivation typically belong to our particular key stakeholders, senior management. And after that, the strategy, modeling, the business modeling, the application technology, and the implementation and migration. So this is where we need to model our enterprise, so that we can so-called get the feel, get the grip on the what our environment, our enterprise environment, in terms of any changes in the particular business strategy or capability impacted, the goal, the business service, the business role. Perhaps they introduce a new department with the bunch of the new roles, and we need to know what they do and how they interact internally and what are their SOP, as well as we need to connect, like at the bottom here, the green one is customer journey. So in terms like we want to know the interaction from the customer or our channel. A customer here include all our distributor, our reseller, as well as our direct customer. So if you are internal, your customer could be other department or other colleague in the same company. So we need to map and model our enterprise properly. And this is another example on the customer journey map. So many organizations has defined the customer journey map, but something that I want to highlight is by using the enterprise architecture gaps, we can better understand what are so-called the disconnected or opportunity, I would call, in terms of the business architecture, data architecture, application architecture, and infrastructure architecture in every journey of touch point. Because once anything is broken, you will not providing a good service to your client. So the client, definitely you receive a complaint. So what I described earlier is that this is what we need to do in terms of the architecture. And of course, coupled with the meta model, we can understand that why is yellow, why is red, because some of the information are not available or is very in the island, and we cannot connect and we cannot get that information with us. So this is something very, very important for us to identify and to fill up all the gaps. So this is not a one-time project, but it's the continuous improvement, because this is what we call it the journey. The journey mapping is continuous, that we need to improve because our world is dynamic and our business changing, and our customer also our pattern change. So we need to be able to address all the issue on the ground with the architecture approach in terms of identifying the gap. So this is actually the journey that we typically do because I've been involved in many of the large-scale enterprise architecture implementation, and typically this is what my experience my team are doing. So first of all, of course, we need to do a assessment. Assessment is the first thing first, because we need to know the readiness and then the index in terms of like skill competency of your team, as well as the political landscape, governance, establishment, and also in terms of the stakeholder commitment, what is your budget cycle, and as well as what are so-called the innovation culture that you have. So we need to have some sort of assessment. Then from there, we can model the motivation in terms of what are the stakeholders, driver, goals, and also concerns. Then after that, we need to validate in terms of what sort of strategy best suit to address stakeholders' motivation. Once this one is defined together with the capability map, then you can define the business architecture in terms of is there any impact to the new organization structure? Is there any impact to the business model that we have? Any SOP impacted, and any services that we need to introduce? Then after that, we do a so-called understand about our application in terms of connectedness, in terms of the application usage, whether it has been optimized to support the business, as well as the infrastructure that we have, all the IoT, the robotic, the sensors, the cloud, and monitoring, network monitoring, and etc. So we need to understand all these impact, of course, together with the information architecture and security architecture. Then from there, we do the realization. So the realization is where we are executing the project. Then from then on, we can continue the transformation. Is where we are going to measure your maturity. Okay, so that's something that quite critical in terms of establishing the right framework for the organization. Of course, now framework also now is going into the so-called perpetual. So perpetual mean is adaptable, and of course with the concept of the minimum viable architecture. So we are basically adopting the framework in terms of the process, the meta model relationship, course, this one is based on the TOGAF, but you are free to refer to any other framework that is best suited for you. And of course, the EA skill set in terms of the people also very, very important. We need to have trained architects, because we cannot just put on the person based on the seniority and they become the architects. So they really need to be trained in terms of competency to execute the job properly. And of course, the Archimate, the notation, just now you have seen all the building block. And we also need to have the digital EA repository in place to execute all this transformation digitally. So the digital EA itself can address a various key stakeholders. So let me just zoom in a bit. So we need to, one of the key stakeholders basically is the head of strategy. So the head of strategy is very, very important, because when they set the strategy, they need to know the impact in terms of the division, in terms of the what are so-called impact in terms of the processes, function, or the technology to the in the entire organization. Then for the business architect itself, to model all the various business process, business function, business landscape in terms of the roles, services that are impacted. So for the chief digital officer, in terms of the looking at the overall digitalization, looking at the particular opportunity, which are the area that are semi-digital. So the chief digital officer will be able to have a so-called holistic view in terms of what the area or initiative they can embark. So from the chief customer officer, in terms of the customer journey mapping, also can be a model in terms of the just now the channel, multiple channel connected experience, as well as the gaps. Of course, the enterprise architecture to develop the meta model and all the viewpoints that I've described. And for the technology portfolio and the project portfolio, application portfolio, is about so-called understanding about what are so-called the IT asset, as well as so-called the end of life, end of support in terms of the application life cycle is very, very important, because we don't want to have any obsolete technology or platform that already overdue in terms of the support. And yeah, so this is the thing that we need to capture. Then for solution architect, to connect about from our architecture into the real solutioning. So what do I mean by the real solutioning here is that we are looking at the connecting into the UML in terms of the class diagram, in terms of the entity, in fact, connecting also to the like ERD, entity relationship in terms of the field of the data, the format, as well as with the BPMN. Because this is very, very important, because the business people is still talking on the SOP level. So we can connect our architecture directly into the solutioning, into the BPMN notation UML, as well as entity relationship modeling. Then for your investment manager to have the portfolio in terms of how many project, how much would the cost to run particular capability, as well as for the risk and the strategy goals. So these are something that are very key that today digital enterprise architecture should be able to address this. And of course, all this configuration is taking place within the meta model with all the attributes parameters in all the blocks that I described earlier in Archimate. So this example on the digital strategy modeling, whereby actually this actually taken from one of the airport. So the airport is that they want to have effective and efficient system for operation strategy. So in order to do that is that they need to realize the outcome. So in terms of the timely and accurate data for decision-making process, because anything that not timely, it can cause catastrophic in terms of the plane crash and safety to the passengers in the airport. And of course, the processes streamline and productivity increase. And this one need to be supported by the capability. So they need to get integrated information management, very, very important. And of course, optimize process management. So there will be people looking into optimizing the process. So always the continuous process improvement. So from the outcome itself, they can realize a few goals, like they can improve passenger satisfaction, higher passenger traffic volume, and that resulted in higher passenger traffic volume. And of course, with that, they need to improve air traffic, and they can also attract airline operator to put as the airport as their base. Their base in terms of the airline operation. And of course, at the end of the day, they want to make sure that they achieve the world best airport, right? And of course, with that, there are no worry about the passenger choosing other airport or choosing other lower cost for the airline operator choosing other low cost airport. So these are something that model that we can do, and of course, all these blocks and relationship are part of the meta model that are interconnected within the enterprise itself. Okay. So these are the example on the how the business layer itself supported by the application layer. Then after that, we can zoom in further how the application layer itself broken down into the services as well as the component. So these type of analysis are crucial, especially when you want to transform and you want to know exactly what are the impact of your new strategic direction. Or perhaps you could also use this map when there is any issue in the particular operation. So we can troubleshoot whether the issue caused by the people, by the process that we have, or the technology that we adopt. So it is with this, then the team can work together to resolve the issue instead of the business team blame the IT team and the IT team also blame the business team. So all these business IT relationship that has been around in the last 20-30 years that it will never end story. So one of the way is that we need to we need to form a new so-called digital transformation office structure. So this is where a typical organization in most of the cases they have a PMO, and also they have IT service management to support, and of course the PMO running multiple projects. So what we are advocating is that the enterprise architecture office need to be set up before the PMO. So the enterprise architecture office is analyzing all the architecture gaps in the business, data, application, and infrastructure. And after that, of course, the solution architecture will work closely with the project team to ensure that the project is a success. Then, of course, we need to have a digital enterprise architecture repository as a single source of truth from the architecture development to the system development. So system development, just now I'm talking about using like a BPMN or UML and entity relationship, as well as the doing for the support team to understand what are so-called the architecture underlining and of course the system design, so that they have the map for them to refer when they conduct a support. And of course, the top one is where we need to integrate between a business technology steering committee to oversee the whole governance of the EAO, PMO, and also ITSM. So with that, I think the strategic enterprise architecture will perform so-called as a command and control within the enterprise, whereby you all the planning in terms of the business, IT, and the transformation planning is still within the purview, because we need to understand in terms of the impact to the meta model to the enterprise, and also we need to understand the risk and also all type of the procurement, technology procurement that are required need to be governed. And of course, the technology management, the life cycle, the project portfolio, and any change that come either from the business or external need to see the impact to the enterprise. So once we have this function, I believe that, and of course I've seen it, we have helped many organizations to embark successfully to transition themselves from, in fact, traditional architecture team to a digital architecture team. Because what do I mean by the traditional? The traditional team is basically a team of architects that are typically more reactive. They are typically assigned into particular project, and they lack of the so-called visibility in terms of the command and control for the enterprise, because they also don't have a proper tools being set up for them. So what do I mean is that they do have the tool, but they don't have the right meta model to define their enterprise. So the meta model to me is something like database design. So if you design database wrongly, you cannot get the information out from your system. The same thing with the enterprise meta model. So with that, let me just wrap up and I will go for Q&A. So let me just share with you the video. Listen to the video about interview. I'm being interviewed by in Singapore. So let's just watch this video. the layman term, 30 years ago was organization structure, org structure. Okay, but I want to have the digital map that I can ask. So if I tell you that you are Mr. So and you are from that department, so can I just open digital map? I want to know what is your role, and I can also find out which are the department that you are working closely in your enterprise. Okay, and I can also find out what actually your SOP, your day-to-day job. Okay, are you approving? If yes, you're who approving it? What processes do you do? And after that, I also want to know which IT system that's supporting it. Okay, if you can give me that answer in 5 minutes, you don't need EA. Many people said EA is a project. I have done my EA 3 years ago. Here are the proof, right? And most of the case is that the EA that they have done is in a static book, okay, static deliverable. As soon as you printed that static book, immediately obsolete. The second part, many people think EA is can eliminate the complexity. Okay, the fact is not the word eliminating, but it's managing. Okay, how can now we manage that complexity and we do better than the rest? The third one, of course, people say that enterprise architecture is only for IT team. Okay, that is totally the myth. It was correct 20 years ago. You talk about architecture word, pass it to the IT team, but now the enterprise architecture involve, the stakeholders, key stakeholders, the decision maker, then involve a motivation of all the divisional head, and also strategy, capability of the business. If the company don't have this type of so-called adoption on the architecture concept, they will not go anywhere, because the world is moving very, very fast. So how fast can you respond? That is the question that we need to ask. With the EA, you can respond it quite quickly, because you know exactly that I need to change my entire product offering, and the digital map will tell you, like the GPS, right? It tell you, okay, these are 20 processes impacted, these are 3 departments impacted, these are the IT system that need to change, and you quickly make a decision within a day. What are you going to do? Without EA, you still can make a decision that may take weeks or months, depending on how big is your enterprise. Moving forward, the complexities and the digital complexities exponential, and there must be some way to manage this, and you cannot do it the way we used to do it in the past. The benefit is that networking, I think, is very, very important. We believe that we can learn. I don't think we claim that we know everything. That's why we need to get the input from the industry, and they can do some validation, like check and balance. Right, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, I'll be having another I think 5 minutes for any question and answer. I hand over back to the moderator.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, that's a lot of information, and it shows just sort of how complex organisations are. There's very little you can do to avoid the complexity other than try to understand it and make it presentable to stakeholders. So, just a few questions. The concept of stakeholder engagement, and you showed the various viewpoints and maps that you create. So, what is your general approach to stakeholder engagement within organisations? And that includes questions along the lines of how do you get sort of the execution side of the roadmap to work effectively, and by that I mean things like making sure that the portfolio of work is correctly aligned and also sequenced and resourced. So yeah, how do you do the whole sort of stakeholder engagement and get that outcome?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Daryl. So there are a few things that we need to do. The first thing first, we need to understand and study our key stakeholders. So it's no way that someone call you in the morning, Daryl, can you meet my CEO? Nope, you don't do that. You better study what are typical your CEO is concerning, what are so-called his KPI, right? His driver for this year, and what are so-called his a task that being mandated by the board of director. So this is just for an example. So we need to study our key stakeholders well about their concern, their KPI, and how technology itself can help them. That's first thing first. Secondly, we also need to understand the lingo. So if we are talking about the key stakeholders in terms of, say, a chief marketing officer, so we better know all the lingo that they are referring to, right? So in terms of the marketing, in terms of the advertisement, and etc. So you know how to get the cool lead and etc. So we need to understand that. And of course, the third one is that we need to prepare a set of the questionnaire that we intend to basically to come up with the meeting agenda. That's very, very important. So we tell them that we are going to meet up with you for half an hour. This is actually the objective of the meeting, and these are so-called 3 or 4 questions. We don't give them 30 or 40 questions. We will not secure the meeting. So like 3 or 4 questions that are very, very crucial for us to get the information. So from there, we can capture the motivation. What in fact make him or her cannot sleep at night. That's the job of architects. So we are doing like counseling type. We ensure the person that we understand your concern. We have captured that. Let me get back to you how we can address this in terms of the understanding the entire architecture landscape in our enterprise today. Because I have done a presentation once to the one of the CEO, and then you know what happened is that the CEO told the team, I'm surprised that I've been 15 years in this organization. Now I can see for the very first time, you can read what I have in mind. So this is what the response like if you capture the right key stakeholders' motivation and concerns. Over to you, Daryl.
Sorry, I do have to remember to unmute myself when I want to speak. It's always important.
Okay.
That's a great answer, Aaron. So change is there's an expectation around change occurring at a certain rate, and that expectation around the rate of change, I think is it's a bit of a circular thing. There's a increased sort of conversation, observation of the rate of change externally to organisations, and as a consequence, we see it manifest internally in organisations in terms of an expectation for rate of change. How do you sort of maintain an appropriate level of quality whilst meeting that expectation for speed?
All right, that is a very difficult question because you know this question that always being answered or by the business team. When do we need this? They always tell you last week or last month or yesterday, or you know I need by end of today. But unfortunately, we cannot perform magic. I wish I could be a magician and tell them, you know, in the blink of an eye, we can get it the system up and ready. So the only thing that we can do is that we bring them into our world. What do I mean by that is that by just now I describing about the digital map. So if we can tell them, okay, what you wanted actually look here. I know the request is only one liner, right? But after we look at the impact analysis that at the business layer, actually impacting almost half of the department that we have in our enterprise, and in fact actually touching about 200 processes. So that one will get our stakeholders understand. So of course we need to think, is there a so-called any quick win that we can do instead of delivering a full place, but we can do a quick win in terms of providing an incremental solution. So this one again, if you don't have the enterprise map just now that I described, you will just be arguing with your key stakeholders, with the business people. Then at the end, of course, in some of the cases is that the business people gave up. They don't want to talk to me anymore. So they go and outsource. So this is something that we don't want that to happen. So we need to, just now, the key principle for the successful digital transformation is that business IT integration. So you can call it by force. Yes, be it, you know, you are forced to integrate because organization need to move forward in the speed of the digital, and we cannot longer tell that this technology is IT responsibility, because today everyone need to have some sort of the digital savviness. So that's why we have so-called the training. The ISA has provided quite a number of the useful training that we can also onboarding the key stakeholders to understand the challenges that we face. Then from there, we can move hand in hand together, because moving forward, there will not be any separation between the IT team and the technology team. And of course, those IT team as well, if they are not interested about the business, they also be left behind, because the enterprise today, the digital enterprise today, they're expecting the IT people to also understand the business acumen. We need to understand the business in terms of just now I mentioned about the process, at least the jargon they are using, and we also need to know how the interaction in terms of the business internally as well as externally. So basically, both sides, business and IT, need to be work hand in hand and to drive the transformation together. So from there, they can set the expectation right, and then from there they can also plan together. That's why in one of the deck I have mentioned about business technology strategy steering committee. That's where expectation is being set at that level. All right, over to you, Daryl.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. That's great. So yeah, it's I take your point about looking at the problem differently and trying to figure out different ways of achieving the outcome. And sort of, I know there's a lot of sort of talk around the agile movement, but the concept of incremental delivery has been around for a lot longer and makes a lot of sense in a number of circumstances, particularly when dealing with the need for the business to continue to function on an ongoing basis. So you can't like just stop everything and make a change. So you need to figure out how to incrementally change the organisation. So we've got a couple of extra minutes. We're just having some technical difficulties with the next speaker. So just if you don't mind, sort of ask a couple extra questions.
Yep.
So the organisation is not an island, as you well know. So in your experience, how how do you go about sort of establishing collaboration across, say, an ecosystem or an industry-wide collaboration if required? What's your experience with doing things like that?
Okay, basically, let me just give you the fundamental of this slide. Okay, so you like it or not, we are born as individualistic. Okay, so if you are the parents, if you have more than 2 kids, like 3 kids, what happens when they are little, when they are small? You bring them to the toy shop, see what happened? You buy the eldest one a toy, what happened with the youngest one? They will cry, right? So at the end of the day, what happened? You need to buy 2 toys. One for the eldest one for the younger one. So as soon as you reach home, in the next 10 minutes, that is touched. So this type of culture also already ingrained in our human. So we tend to be possessive. We think like, if you can have this budget, we also have that budget. So this is the model on the enterprise today in these pictures. So basically, they got a group of people, they got the department, and every department, they have a political tension. Right? In fact, this is some of the, in most cases, that if I work, me and Daryl and the 2 different departments, but somehow Daryl is more senior than me. So if I ask Daryl about the particular information, and perhaps Daryl will say, Aaron, even your boss also have no access to this information. Forget about you. Then, well, this is the reality of life. You are not granted the access because you are not reaching a particular level. But, well, I need that information for me to process, to provide a good service to my client, but I'm not given access. So what I'm talking about here, this is a real enterprise. You are carrying me and carrying the same email domain. We are in the same company, working for 5 years, and yet you treat me like outsider. So if you are in that situation, how do you drive the transformation? It's basically impossible. So how can we break through the wall? So the only thing to break through the wall is that we need to develop a meta model that basically to understand the entity relationship within the enterprise, And what I would put an analogy of meta model, if like if you are in the medicine, is like you need to define your biology of the human being. So the human being have the brain, have the 2 ears, they got the nose, they got the throat, they got the lung, they got the heart, they got the liver, they got intestine, etc. And of course, they got the blood vessel. So we need to define that. Then once you define that, you need to make it alive. So you make it alive by putting that into the repository, right? Because you cannot maintain this in Microsoft Excel. Once you run in the repository, then you need, of course, the strong management mandate. Then you bring that a particular part into the particular department. So without realizing, they're already giving their information, and you need to store that into the repository as a single source of truth. Then from there, you can run a transformation, you can run a query, you can run a diagnosis, you can run the impact analysis, and you can understand the enterprise better. I hope that answer, yeah, long answer in the short way.
That's all right. That's good, Aaron. Thanks for that. Look, I just wanted to say thank you for your time today. I see the extensive use of Archimate there, and it is a good language, particularly for architects to communicate to one another. And I can see the enormous amount of effort that's gone into creating the enterprise map. So it's great for you to share that with us today. And I think we'll wrap that there. And no, thank you very much for your time, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much.